Good morning. All right, Mr. Robinson here. But you know that already. So I'm gonna go through this lecture to try to help you out on the assignment, the progressive era. So this is what we're looking at here. Yesterday we looked at the changes that were starting to take place with civil rights. Okay, these are more changes today with the progressive era, and this is really what we're getting into studying here with the progressive era. All right, some more changes, and so I'm gonna go over it, and then I'll explain the assignment to you as well. Now there aren't any pictures on these slides, but they are important. So let's go ahead and get started. Four goals, right? Four goals of the progressive era: protecting social welfare. So that's trying to help those people who are in need. Remember, a lot of people were in need in this time because there are a lot of people were very poor, while some were very rich. Right? Carnegie, Rockefeller, Morgan, Vanderbilt. Some were very poor. So there's one. All right, promoting moral improvement. That has to deal with cleaning up society and um, enhancing the consciousness of correct choices within society. I'll explain that more later, but changes in character. All right, so doing the right thing, or what was perceived as doing the right thing. There's a big thing with that that comes with it manifests itself in a constitutional amendment with the prohibition of alcohol. Creating economic reform, again, more policy towards businesses, because these businesses, your robber barons there, had established monopolies. All right, so with the creating economic reform, the government is going to become more involved in shutting down the monopolies. So remember, the government had been hands off, right, hands off. We're not going to touch the economy. Well, now the government becomes involved in the economy because they're trying to regulate business. And then fostering efficiency is the last one. That one's the one we study the least, but it does involve using resources more economically, or for better, using them for better purposes. So I'm going to go through each of these. There's a slide for each of them to help you out. The first one, protecting the social welfare. So the employers during the Gilded Age did not feel responsibility for their workers. Remember, the Gilded Age, there was no such thing as workers' compensation or paid vacation leave, no benefits of any type. I'll tell you a story. So when I was in the Marine Corps, I got hurt really bad. I almost died, and I was in a coma for 3 weeks. Well, guess what? I still got paid while I was in a coma. All right. And then did I have because I got hurt on the job in the Marine Corps? Did I have any job or any hospital bills from my injury? No. The Marine Corps had to foot that whole bill. Well, before this, the employers didn't feel responsibility for their workers. So if you got hurt on the job, well, that's on you. All right. But now you have different things where the employers are trying to not only cover those benefits for their workers, but trying to help them out in other ways. All right, the creation of settlement houses. So that's houses to help people when they move, all right, or adjust to the community, or if they don't, if they're homeless. The use of settlement houses. All right, the two that took lead roles, the YMCA, or Young Men's Christian Association, and Salvation Army. All right, there's the two organizations that are taking lead roles with protecting the social welfare. Promoting moral development. It goes kind of along with that. But the big one we're going to look at with that is this push for the prohibition of alcohol. And some people felt that the reason society, remember the Gilded Age was kind of a corrupt society, that the reason it was personal behavior. All right. Society itself is corrupted because individuals are corrupted. So we need to change the behavior of individuals in order to correct society or right society. So they proposed reforms such as prohibition. There's a group there, Women's Christian Temperance Union. Now, temperance is kind of the lead up to prohibition. It's basically calling for no more use of alcohol. All right. Now, Women's Christian Temperance Union is going to spearhead or lead this push for prohibition. Now, well, why does prohibition of alcohol appeal to women? Okay, it did then and it still does. The answer really, that the truth of the matter is that a lot of women felt that the use of alcohol, particularly to a high extent, would tear apart families. Um, I'll tell you another story. When I was in the Marine Corps, there was 3 or 4 times I was called because one of the Marines I was in charge of, there was a domestic dispute between him and his wife. So I had to call and try to work this situation out to make sure it wasn't further escalated. Every time I had to go, I was called to go look after this junior Marine that I was in charge of. Alcohol was involved in their dispute. All right, one of the other parties, most of the time the male, in this case, the guy I was in charge of, had been consuming alcohol. All right, so that would be why women they felt that it would tear apart families. And then we're going to look at another reason why there was a push for the prohibition of alcohol as well. And here's just some more. Some of the immigrants did not. They certainly did not support prohibition because in their home country, particularly, alcohol is more in wide use in other countries of Europe than it is here in the United States. Remember, people could drink even now there at a younger age than they can in the United States. But many immigrants' customs included the consumption of alcohol. So the immigrants would not they did not support prohibition. Saloons, not only were saloons then or taverns places of social leisure, but they filled other roles, such as that where you could cash your checks, you could hold meetings for your organization. In fact, the Marine Corps that I was in, or the only Marine Corps in the United States, it was founded in a saloon. Right? That's where they had their meetings, and that's where they founded the Marine Corps. It was in a tavern where it was founded. Here's another one. So economic reform. So this would prohibition goes in this in a sense is that people felt that prohibition or the use of alcohol made workers lazy or people lazy, and they could not get as much work done at work. But really, what we're getting at here is that, remember, those big businesses, all right, those monopolies, and they're making all this money, but the workers aren't making any money. So that's what you should know from the Gilded Age. And so now you have people that are criticizing that. In this term here, I'm pointing it out on you. All right, it says muckrakers. That's an important term. A muckraker was a journalist who wrote articles about corruption in society. The journalists were exposing the corruption in society to everyday citizens. So people would read these articles or look in the newspaper and see the pictures and stuff and say, all right, this isn't right. And so what it leads to is a push to right the wrongs in society, to correct these problems. That's what the muckrakers were. All right. Here's one. So remember, Standard Oil Company by John D. Rockefeller. Ida Tarbell, she writes the history of the Standard Oil Company is what she wrote, but it basically questioned the methods that Rockefeller used to eliminate competition. Lincoln Steffens, there's another one. So he basically what he did, him and Jacob Riis did this some too. They photographed some of the living conditions that people had to live in, and then they put them in the newspaper, and people were, regular citizens are seeing that, and they're like, "Whoa, I thought America was better than this. That people would not have to live in these slum-like conditions." So those are a couple of them. All right, fostering efficiency. This this is one that your assignment's not going to be about this, but again, it is the use of scientific technology or scientific thought to make the production of goods more efficient. Scientific principles to make the workplace more efficient. All right. So using the assembly line, things like this to make production more efficient. Because remember, you want to, if you're an owner or just the government in general, you want to produce as many things as you can with as little cost as possible. Now, a lot of the big business owners did this by not paying their workers any money, but being more efficient allows you to do this as well. Don't worry about this slide. All right, this one is somewhat important. Okay, so child labor. All right, this is what other muckrakers wrote about too. Child labor that was going on was photographed and put into newspapers. So Robert M. La Follette of Wisconsin, he kind of led the charge as amongst governors of ending this. And by 1918, you have nearly every state they get rid of child labor. Well, child labor, it was important to, I'm telling you, why would the government want to use, or not the government, but why would business want to use child labor? Because children will work for cheaper money, all right, just like immigrants will. So that's why child labor was used. But again, the society is looking at this and saying something's wrong here. We need to change it. So progressivism, the idea behind progressivism is is change, and not only change, but change for the better. That's the idea behind it. Supreme Court, all right. So they're ruling. So you're ending child labor, shorter work days. Okay. So remember, when in the Gilded Age, some of these people were working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. If you're good at math, that ends up to what, 70? That's a 72-hour work week. So Supreme Court's making it where shorter work day. Workers' compensation. If somebody's killed or hurt on the job, like I was in the Marine Corps, all right, they're awarded or given compensation for their injuries. All right, it's not held against them. They're not just like, well, okay, you can't do your job, you're fired, on to the next one. Thank you, next one. No, that wasn't happening anymore. All right, here's another one. So, in a political sense, the political reform that kind of happened at this is what's going to be on your assignment, where it says political reform, is election. An election is a political reform. You have the 17th Amendment, which meant the direct election of senators. So now people in the state actually vote on the senators. Before, the senators were essentially chosen by the party in power of the state. These are a couple more with initiative and recall. Well, recall, that enables the people to remove. They have a recall ballot. They can remove an official who is not doing their job that's been elected. All right. Okay, so that's it. All right, I try to go through it fairly quickly. And help you out. Now, the assignment is pretty simple, but along with the video here, I'm going to include a reading the section in the book that all this comes from, which so I'm trying to help you out. If you would rather just read through that to answer the assignment, then you can do that as well.